Welcome to the firstly monthly example show. So from now on, I will try to make some example shows every month where I would um, look at what topics have been covered in SkewbSchool that month and try to make that the main focus of the example. So this month, it will be mainly about basic one looking and center recognition. So how you can recognize all cases with three centers only. And also will be there will also be some weird layers where you can do some efficient solutions. So we'll start off with a really easy one with a one move layer. Everyone should be able to one look at one move layer because it's just tracing pieces for one move and trying to recognize the case, and that isn't really hard. So we will start off with the corners because the corners are always pretty easy to one look because you only have to know two adjacent corners to be able to know how the corners, which corner case you'll have. So we'll start tracing the pieces. So we see when we do this move, we see this piece will move like this, and this will become the U color over here. And then we see we have headlights over here, so we have a pi k with headlights over here. And then for the centers, when we have a one move, three centers won't be moved, so the first layer won't move and these two won't move. So we can see we have a solved one over here and a not solved one or opposite one over here. But we see it moves away from the solved one, so then we'll start tracing further. And then we see the U color will come to here, and we now know three centers, so we should be able to know which case we would get if we know how to recognize each case with three pieces. So we see you have the U color over here, the solved one over here, and this one moves to here, and that will become this case. So we have a solved one over here, the U center here, and this one moves over here. And then if we also try to one look the corners with those centers, we see we have this case. So when you're an intermediate or advanced solver and you don't know an alg for this case, you solve this corner, then you do a hedge here, and then you have a U-perm. But when you know an alg for this, the alg goes like this. But what we see, the first move's cancelled, so then we have this 7 mover, which is pretty quick. Looking at the cube, we can see the 2 mover on green, 2 mover on red, and a 2 mover on yellow. So what that means, when you have 3 2 movers, that means that on 3 layers there will be 2 move layers, and that I think that always means that you are going to get a U-perm or a O-perm. So when you see you have 3 2 move layers, you're probably going to get one of these 2 cases. So then we will start one looking. So we take green for example, and now we are going to start tracing these 2. So we'll start off with the corners, and when we do this move, we see this corner moves on top right here, and then with the second move, this will be like this. We see this corner won't move, so we know this moves up here and is solved. And then we look at the second corner, so it won't be affected by the first move, and the second move is this move. So now we see we have 2 solved corners, so that means that all corners will be solved on top. And then we will start tracing the pieces. So we will start off with tracing this one. So no, I think another one is a pretty bad one. So we'll start tracing this one. So when the first move, it isn't affected, and with the second move it will move on top, and that's the U center. So we know the U center is solved and the bottom center is solved. So we now know one center, and the one in the back won't be affected by these two moves also. So we know we have the U center here, an opposite here, and so we only need one more center to know which case we have. So we will trace this one. So this one will move over here, and then with the second move, when it's here, it won't be affected. So we see we have a solved one here, opposite here, and this one, the orange one, will move towards the center, and that means that we have a U-perm. If you see right here, this will move towards here, so we have a U-perm. But the U-perm is on, so we have a horizontal U-perm, but that can be better, because when you have a U-perm, it's best when it's vertical, because then you can just do a U-perm like this. Because instead of you have it in a horizontal one, you have to first regrip and then do the moves. So then we are going to start to look on which center we will start having the vertical U-perm. So when we unlock it, and we see yellow will be the one with the vertical U-perm. So then we will do the two moves on yellow and have a vertical U-perm. Here we also have a one move layer, so we will start off with the corners. So we see this one doesn't move with doing the move, so then we look at this corner, and when we trace it, we see the U core will come here, so we have a peanut with the U cores right here. And then we will look at the center, so by doing this move, these two won't be affected, so we have an opposite, and the center moves towards the opposite. So then we trace another center, and then we know what case we are going to get. So we see the U center here, and we will bring it over here. We know we have a U center on the opposite, and this one moves towards it, so that means that we have this case. So opposite here, U center here, this one moves here, so we have an X-perm. And if we don't know how to recognize it by three centers, we just trace another piece, so for example this one, and we see it's opposite, so it's pretty clear we have this case. And this case is solved by doing a sledge here and then a hedge here. So on this grandma we have this red diagonal layer, and now we can see we have, if we insert this one in one move, we can insert the other one also in one, so it's a two mover. So I will start with tracing the corner. So when doing this move, we see these two pieces don't move, and the second move is doing this. So we see we'll have pi with the headlights over here. And then we'll start tracing pieces. You can choose wherever you want, but I will start on the top, for example. So we see it's a U core, U center. So with this move it comes down here, and with the second move it doesn't move. So then we take the next one, and we see this one with that move will move over here, so we have an opposite one. And then we will take a third one, this one, and we see it doesn't move with the first move, but with the second move it moves to here. So we have an opposite here, and the U center here, so that means that we have an X-perm with the headlights over here. So when we would see the case, when you're doing advanced or intermediate, when you're intermediate, you would recommend starting to notice patterns like this. For example, if you do a hedge here, you get this case, but if you do a sledge over here, you get a triple sledge case, so that's a bit quicker. But I use an elk for that, so I would insert like this, then we start the elk off like this. So it would be a pretty good scramble. On the next scramble we also have a diagonal layer, and we have this time we have the corners over here. So when we insert this one over here, the other one will move to here and will be a one move away, so it's a 2 mover. So we'll start again with the corners. So when we do this move, these 2 corners aren't affected, and with the second move being like this, we see F pi with the u-course over here. So then we will start tracing center. So we see this one move over here, and this one will move over here. And if we look closely, we will see this one is opposite to that one, and that one is opposite to that one. So it's like a z-perm. So that means we either have a z-perm conjugate over a watt perm, and then this corner will move to here. So we see we have a 2 swap here, and this one is opposite to this, so we will have a z-perm. So when we apply that to the corners, we would see that we have this case, so with the swap in the front. And with doing sledges and hedges, this case is pretty bad, but the AUX for this is really easy. So I'll put a link in the description to a video where I show AUX for all these bad cases. So for this case, the easiest one in my opinion is to take this corner out in 3 moves, then do a hedge cancel. So that means that if you do a hedge here and here, you can cancel 1 move, and it goes like this, and then you just insert that corner. What you also have is the inverse, so you can do the B move here and then do a sledge cancel and then insert that one move. So those are the 2 ones easiest to learn. And in this case, when we have this, these are the first moves of doing the B move and then the sledge. So here we can cancel, and it would become a really easy solution. On this scramble, we don't immediately see something good. So we see this red layer where you have these pieces right here, and this you can solve in 4 different 5 movers. So you can set it up to this case. In this case, you can solve like this or like this. And then you can just insert this corner into here in 3 moves, and you have these 2 mover. And you can also bring this one up and insert the corners like this. But they aren't that good, so we look further, and then the best layer is right here. So with your instinct, you would just insert this corner and solve these corners like this, but that would be a 7 move layer, so that isn't good. So what you can do instead is insert this corner into here in 3 moves instead of 1 move, like this, and then you twist that corner, and then you have this 2 mover. So that becomes a much better layer. One linking on this scramble can be quite hard because you have to start tracing to cases you already know of. You have to trace like 5 move layers, and that isn't really easy. On this scramble, anything good apart from these 2 movers, so you insert this corner and then that one. So we'll start off with corners. So we see when inserting this corner over here, this piece will move over here with the U color right here, and the other corner won't move by doing this move. So the next move we'll put it up to here, and this corner doesn't move with doing this move. So we have peanut with the U course over here, and then we'll go over one looking the centers. So by doing these 2 moves, the one in the back doesn't move, so we know that one stays over here. And then we'll start looking at this corner center, for example. So it doesn't move with the first move, but with the second move it will move up to here. So we have this on top, this one over here, and then we'll look at the third one, and that's this one, for example. So with this move it moves over here, and with the second one it won't move. So I have this one here, and this one is opposite, and then we also have the center, it will be on top, it's red. So these two swap. So that means that there will be a 2 swap here and this one will be solved. So that means that you have this case. So with advanced, you would just do a sledge here. Oh no. I mean, it's a hedge. And then you can do sledge hedge. But there also is an alg for it. It's a little bit faster, but not that much. So it's one of the algs you learn at the end when you have learned all the other ones. So it goes like this. So you bring this corner up, then you twist the corner, and then insert it in here in 4 moves. So now you have this scroll and we have this 3 mover. That's really good. And if we look further on white, for example, we can keep this one in mind because it's a 1 move setup to this case, and this one is really easy to 1 look. So I would keep that in mind for if the 3 mover gives a bad case. And then we also have a red here. It isn't useful in this case, but it's a 5 mover that isn't really obvious. But on some scrambles it will be the best option. So how you solve this is to these 3 moves, and then you have a 2 mover left. So now we are going to try to trace the pieces for this 3 mover. When you're going up to 3 moves, it can become quite harder, and but we will try to 1 look it. So we'll start off with this corner on the bottom. So with the first move, it's like this. It doesn't move. The second move is doing this. So then it moves up to here. And with the last move, it isn't affected. So then we will take this one, because when we have 2 corners here, we know how the corners are. So with the first move, it moves up to here. With the second move, it doesn't change. And by bringing this one back down, it just moves back up. So we will have solved centers, so that's pretty easy to remember. And then we will go over to tracing the pieces, because we only have these moves. The one in the back won't change, so we have an opposite here. And then we will trace the U center, because that one gives the most information. So we move this one up, so that doesn't move the piece. With the next move, it's this, so it moves up here. Then the last move is bringing it down, so then it moves over here. So we have the U center here and opposite here. So that means that we either have an X perm or a U perm. So then we only need 1 more center. So we take this one. With this move, it moves up to here. With the second move, it will move to here. And with the last move, it doesn't move anymore. So we have U center here, opposite here. And this one will move to here. So that is a really bad case, because we have a pure X perm. And then if you're doing advanced, it would be like 2 U perm, so it's pretty bad. But I use an alg for this, and it goes like this. Then a hedge, and again these 3 moves, and then do another hedge. So then it's still a bad solve. So then I would go look at the other one, which is also kind of easy to 1 look. So with this layer, these 2 corners stay solved. So we see we also have solved corners. With the setup move, this one will move to the back. This one won't change, so we have an opposite here. And with the move, the U center will move up here. And with the layer, it will move to here. So we again have an opposite here and a U center here. So when we see have 2 solved corners, we see only a U perm will give us a good case. And then by doing the alg, this one also moves to here. So again, we have a pure X perm, and now it's even a worse one. And I would solve this one like this. So then when I would notice this, I would just go back to the 3 mover and use that one. So on this scramble, we see we have 2 solved corners here, and we have a 2 mover here. And if you look further, here on green, we have these 3 movers. When we insert this corner here, we can solve this both in one move. Blue is pretty bad. And then on yellow we have this layer. So this layer is actually a 5 mover, which is pretty easy. So when you would just solve these corners like you would normally with the 4 move alch, then you can insert this one in one move. So here it gives pure pi, so it might even be the best solution if you would have one looked at. So now we're going to try to one look this one. So we'll start off with tracing the corners. So we'll start off with this one because it won't move with the first move. So the first move is this, and the second move is doing this move. So this one will move to the top, so we know this one is solved. And then we do the next one. So with the first move it's pushed over here, and with the second move it's doing this move, so it would twist. So we see with the first move it moves over here, then it would twist and it would come over here. And this one was solved, so we have peanut with the pieces over here. And then we'll look at the centers. So we're doing only moves in the front, so the one in the back stays in the back. So it's a U center, so the U center is in the back. So then we will one look at this center. So with the first move it moves over here, and with the second move it would move over here. So we have a solved one here, the U center here, and then we will take the next one over here. So with the first move it moves to the top, and with the second move it moves back down. So this one actually stays in the same place. So we have a solved one here, the U center here, and this one would move like this. So that would mean we have a 2 swap here and a 2 swap here with a peanut over here. So it means we have this case, which isn't that good. So how you would do it with advanced is doing a sledge here, a hedge here, sledge, hedge. I most of the time use an alch for this, but in this case I would probably go for the advanced because it would also cancel. But the alch I use is take this corner out in 3 moves, move it over here, and then put it back in 6 moves.